It's days like these when one can easily sit back and say, Test cricket is an easy format. That's how it was, courtesy the Indian bowlers in the second Test match. It's only day one, and India in total control. A look at the scorecard will tell you that Bangladesh were never really in the game. Their captain won the toss and chose to bat first, hoping that after the first couple of hours they'd be able to take the advantage of easier batting conditions. But it wasn't to be. Barring Mominul Haq, everyone else got starts and yet did not quite manage to stitch together a big partnership. 227 all out, four apiece for Umesh Yadav, the workhorse. Two wickets on test return for Jaydev Unadkat, and four wickets as always for Ravichandran Ashwin, who used his experience really well. India in reply had to bat for a few overs, 19 without loss, not without a flutter. KL Rahul and Shubman Gill looking good, as well as Dinesh Karthik, who's always looking good on Cricbuzz Chatter, and Manish Batavia. DK, barring the toss, there's nothing else that went against India on day one.
Yes, I think it was a pretty comprehensive day for Team India. KL was confused at the toss. I think he wasn't sure whether to bat or bowl. He said it himself, and he said, I would have ended up batting first. But generally, when they play three medium pacers in India, it says that they're expecting something to happen in the wicket. Like they're expecting it to do a lot more for the fast bowlers, because in Asian conditions, with the amount of heat that prevails, with every day, the wicket gets slower and easier to bat on. So fast bowlers, when they are picked, like when I say fast bowlers being picked, generally two seems to be the number that Indian team sticks to. But when three are picked, it's mostly a case of they're backing it to do a lot in the first innings. But KL said he's going to bat first, so that was a little confusing. But the good thing that happened was he lost the toss, but Bangladesh obviously were not up to the mark with their batting, whereas Indian bowlers looked way good, way better. And you can see at the end of the day's play, I think Team India will be smiling all the way.
There's a theme for the Indian bowling group these days, especially on this tour of Bangladesh. While Bumrah is away, while Shami is away, make merry while you can, because opportunities are going to be rare. And how well has Umesh Yadav put his hand up, saying, I'm the lead of this attack, I'm the spearhead, and this is how I'm going to bowl. Umesh Yadav looked terrific, and he just kept asking questions.
Look, I think if you remember, we spoke about last game as well. We spoke about Umesh being high quality, and that's exactly what happened in this test as well. I think the fact that he is standing up when the other bowlers are not there is what I really like about him. The key being for me, Umesh Yadav, what I really love about him is the fact that with the old ball, he is a handful to watch. I think the way he gets the ball to reverse, the way he is able to control the reverse swing that happens to right-handers and left-handers is phenomenal. I love the fact that here is a bowler who's sharp with the new ball, but with the old ball, he asks a lot better questions to the batters. And that is something that we saw in today's spell as well. The ball that he bowled to get Nurul Hassan LBW, I really enjoyed that. Just beaten for pace, just skidded through, and that was phenomenal to watch.
On a wicket like this, where the bounce was, thank God, far better than the one we saw at Chattogram. But this guy seems to skid through, and that perhaps makes life a lot tougher for batsmen.
Absolutely. Look, anybody who has a slingy action always gets the ball to skid through. I think that is Umesh Yadav's strength as well. And with the old ball, the fact that it reverses late makes it even harder for the bowlers. Why is reverse swing tougher than the normal swing? Because the ball swings late. Whereas with the new ball, it swings from the hand mostly, unless you're a bowler who has a great upright seam like Shami does, and he can swing the ball late. But leave the technical sides, technical issues aside. I think Umesh Yadav, the fact that he bowls slightly away from his ear and has a slingy action, creates the ball to come back in much later and gets that skid, which is one of the main reasons why he's got so many wickets over a span of 50 tests.
Yes, he does bowl his heart out. And there's someone else whose heart really bleeds for red ball cricket. He's been doing the hard yards. He's putting in performances for the last half a decade for Saurashtra. He's had to wait for 12 years for his test return. And I'd like to think, DK, Jaydev Unadkat's return to test cricket has been the happiest story of the day. Forget about the numbers, 2 for 50, but just the smile with which he bowled and his body language. There was a spring in his stride, and he seemed to enjoy his comeback to the test poll. What a story it is.
The biggest smile of the day for me when the 11 was announced was to see Jaydev Unadkat's name there. I genuinely thought that he wouldn't get a game on this trip. But luck be it, things just correctly worked around his favor. He wasn't even around the last test match. He had visa issues. But then after that, coming back bowling the spell that he bowled first up, the amount of bounce he extracted. We have two quality bowlers in Siraj and Umesh who've got the hard new Kookaburra ball. But Jaydev Unadkat comes in and the bounce he's able to extract, that short spell that he bowled before he got Zakir Hassan out, the kind of balls that lifted from length were phenomenal. And I give him a lot of credit actually, because that can happen only when you hit the seam. And this is the difference between Jaydev Unadkat in 2010 and Jaydev Unadkat in 2022. The upright seam, the ability to get the ball to hit the seam consistently and create that bounce initially. Hats off to him. I was really happy with the fact that he played the 11, but even more happier with the kind of deliveries he bowled to get good batsmen out early in their innings. One batsman set, but he got them out. He didn't expect them to play a big shot. He bowled two beauties, and that is what domestic cricket teaches you: the ability to persevere and be very, very good with your legs.
Yes, he kept coming at the batsman. He proved to be a partnership breaker as well. Very crucial performance from Jaydev Unadkat, given how this innings was panning out. By the way, DK, you found a mention on Cricbuzz's text commentary today, because one of your records was broken by Jaydev Unadkat. Guess what that record was, DK? Are you aware? Have you been told by the team at Cricbuzz?
Yeah, I think my social media has been ringing as well with that record being broken. And I'm really happier.
But DK, give me a sense of what it's like to make a comeback after over a decade. 12 years is a lifetime. It's an eternity. You made a comeback after 8 years in which you missed 87 test matches. Jaydev Unadkat's missed 118. The world has changed. Perhaps cricket has changed. He would have changed physically, mentally, skill-wise as well. But give us a sense of what a comeback like this means mentally and emotionally for a player.
It means a phenomenal amount of hard work, sacrifice, ethereal amounts of patience, and most importantly, you have put in your heart and soul in domestic cricket. That is when you can make a comeback after so long. Because when you play international cricket, there's a certain amount of glamour, there's a certain amount of glitz attached to it. But when you go back to domestic cricket, there is none of that. It's a very bland little place where you have to go, and you will be going through the same rigors of failing some days, doing well some days, but then it will teach you a lot of things that will in many ways help you in your life. And Jaydev Unadkat is a great example of somebody who has persevered, who has gone through the ups and downs of life like anything else, like anyone else, but stuck to it, gotten better, become a leader after a point of time, taken his state to glory, and through that made a comeback with his phenomenal success. They say leaders should obviously in many ways walk the talk, and that's exactly what he's done for Saurashtra. On a flat wicket, getting wickets day after day and making sure he's leading the pack. In fact, there is a younger guy called Sakaria who he is literally groomed over a period of time, doing so well in white ball cricket. Hats off to Jaydev Unadkat. I think in every way he's been a champion in the last decade playing domestic cricket.
Now, there are different people react to situations in different ways. We might have well seen, Jaydev Unadkat perhaps get overawed emotionally, but that wasn't the case. There was a smile on his face, and he seemed to have come into this test match with a lot of ideas in terms of what he wanted to do with that red cherry in his hand. So a more mature bowler, a more thinking bowler, a fitter bowler, and clearly using that experience of 12 years, the hunger and the thirst of missing out on the big stage, and he put everything into it because he knows that once Shami and Bumrah are back, opportunities are going to be rare.
Yes, I think what we saw was a product of what domestic cricket teaches you. The way he came around the wicket, got the ball to move away to a Mushfiqur Rahim, comes from experience, because you know how to get a batsman out. Okay, a set batter, let me keep the shine of the ball to the inside and try and get the ball going outside from around the wicket. That is a different skill, because you need to change your wrist position at the point of delivery. And he's done that over and over again in domestic cricket, and hence the confidence for him to come and recreate it in test cricket. These are not skills that is learned overnight. These are skills that is honed over a period of time. And that is why playing red ball cricket is very, very important for a fast bowler. Two things happen when you play red ball cricket, or rather domestic red ball cricket, over a period of time. One, you become less injury prone because your volume of overs that you bowl as a fast bowler increases, and that helps your body to understand what it is to bowl long overs, long hours of bowling rather. Number two, you get better with your skills. You figure out what are the things that you can do with the ball, because you can swing the ball both ways, you can seam the ball both ways, you have attacking fields, you have time to do all of those things. So you grow as a bowler when you play a lot of domestic cricket, and that is what we saw in Jaydev Unadkat.
And the message has also perhaps gone out to hundreds of other cricketers who are doing well in the Ranji circuit, saying, if you do well here, you can still make it to Team India. It's not just about the spotlight of the IPL. Yes, that is a feeder system, but a message has gone today. It's a positive message to the other cricketers who've been waiting in the wings for a long time.
Absolutely. I think it's a great example, but I think the message is a bigger message. The message is one of perseverance. The message is one of discipline. The message is one of being a leader in a pack. These are the bigger messages. The message is one of trying to sustain and being fit consistently year after year. Jaydev Unadkat has not only come back in Test cricket, even in IPL, when he played for Rising Pune Super Giants, there was a year when he literally single-handedly took them with his performance all the way to the final. So he is not a one-trick pony. He is somebody who, even in white ball, has done well. And that confidence has come from the fact that he's played domestic cricket. Domestic cricket is a hard place. Make no mistake, Manish, it is a real hard place. When you play international cricket, there are millions watching you. When you go back to domestic cricket, there are literally none. I keep making a joke saying there are probably at times 2 dogs watching you in the ground, and they probably belong to the groundsmen. Those are the kind, you don't get a crowd there. Only motivation is, what is your bigger picture? How do you push yourself to do what you want to achieve every day in your life? And it is a very hard place for a lot of people, especially who have seen the glitz and glamour.
And someone else who is always making the news, not for what he does at the non-strikers end, but with his bowling. Ravichandran Ashwin, another intelligent spell and a four-wicket haul. So it all augurs well for India's bowling group, because 2 4-wicket hauls and a 2-wicket spell for Jaydev Unadkat. 4 wickets for Ashwin, bowled really well, especially the one to get Leighton Das, a classic off-spinner's dismissal.
I think Ashwin obviously will know that today was a much better day compared to the other couple of days that he's been bowling in Chattogram. I think it was much fuller in Chattogram. Here, he obviously got the loop, but also got the dip. The Leighton Das wicket is a big example of how, when he's bowling well, he can create the mistakes that the batsman will make generally when they're playing a flick shot or a cover drive. The 2 big areas of getting a batsman out is when they look to hit on the leg side and the ball stops on you and you get caught at short mid wicket, or long leg. And the other option is when you cover drive and get bowled. He kept both those edges intact. He was troubling all the batsmen, constantly asking questions. Early on in the day, we saw a really tough chance of of a stumping being left by punt. And after that, the spells that he came along with, he changed his pace, didn't bowl anything too full. He got the odd tap in an over. I know Mushfiqur hit him for 3 4s, but overall, terrific day. I think he will be very happy with this bowling performance. He is not someone who can bowl in Asian conditions and not get wickets, because he's A, very talented, B, he's got enormous control of not only his variations, but also his thought process in leading up to the crease, his jump, his stride length, and a lot of other technical details. He's very aware of those things. So he will know what didn't go well for him in Chattogram, make those changes and come back a better bowler. And that's exactly what we saw today. Somebody with a lot of skill and asking questions to the Bangladesh batsman.
Yes, he's been one of the rocks of the Indian bowling group. There's someone else who is making a comeback. Today has been a story of comebacks to Test cricket. Former skipper Mominul Haq leading the way, really. He was the one who stayed there for the longest time, the only batsman who scored a half-century, brought into this side in place of Yasir for this Test match. He's had a horrid 2022, but today he seemed to want to make amends for all those failures through the year. First 50 after 12 innings. He looked hungry, looked focused, solid innings.
I think Mominul also has been a very interesting case study, because when he came as a young batter for Bangladesh at the start, his average, his scores were Bradman-esque. I remember some of the stats were only compared to Brad when he was getting those kind of scores. And then you see this massive slump in the last 1 year, 18 months. He's had a really hard time. He was the captain, and he gave up captaincy saying he wants to focus on his batting. That's how bad and how the scores deserted him. He was really struggling for runs. He went with the Bangladesh A team to Chennai, didn't get runs there. Even in the India A versus Bangladesh A, he didn't get runs. So he's really struggling for runs, dropped in the first test. But today he showed why he is who he is, applying himself, fighting it out against a world-class off-spinner who was bowling well, against a Jaydev Unadkat, Siraj, and a good-looking Umesh with an old ball. And I thought he played all the spells with a lot of authority. Yeah, you could see why he's got skill and why they've backed him. And that was good to see him making the way he used his feet against an Ashwin, his ability to play late when the ball reversed off an Umesh Yadav. These were all great attributes of a good number 3, and he possessed all of them today.
At one stage, they were 213 for 5, and then there was a bit of a collapse, a complete collapse, in fact. The bottom half was skittled out in the remaining 14 runs. Mominul Haq got 84, but he hardly got any support. Everyone else got starts, but it took a bit of maturity to go on. Look at that. Partnership, 77, 77, 47 deliveries. Everyone seemed to get starts, but someone else should have stayed with Mominul Haq, whether it was Shakib Al Hasan or a Mushfiqur Rahim, Litton Das. No one else seemed to want to stay at the crease. Does Bangladesh give you the impression that they don't really have the patience which needs to be part of their DNA to do well in Test cricket?
I felt that. I actually felt their tempo while batting and their temperament while batting is something that they are searching for. They haven't churned out those big 200s. They've been around for more than a decade in Test cricket now. You haven't had batsmen scoring those double hundreds, those big daddy hundreds, as they say. That hasn't been coming from Bangladesh. And you have to understand, these are good batting conditions. They won a toss. They want to bat first, which says that they have the confidence in their batters, but they're not showing that temperament required. Yes, some of them do lack technique. It's a matter of skill as well. But some of the shots that they played were soft as well. Like Litton Das, I was pretty disappointed with the shot that he played today. I agree that it was a good ball, got beaten a little bit in the flight, but he would know when he goes back that, somebody batting on 25, literally more than a run a ball at that stage with confidence, playing such a loose shot and just chipping it to short mid-wicket. It is not the shot of a captain of an ODI side with that kind of responsibility. He should be able to take and absorb more responsibility. He has the potential to do so much better. He will know that. And he is a good player when he's looking to play shots as well, but doesn't mean he could play reckless shots. I think there's a fine line between being positive and being reckless, and more often than not, that fine line is the result. In this case, for sure, I think he is treading on the side of reckless with his shot selection.
That delivery, the first delivery after the luncheon break, was a bit of a facepalm moment for the Test captain as well. What was happening there? He knew he had to stay there. Shakib Al Hasan, you expect a lot better from a player of his class and caliber and experience.
Absolutely. I think Shakib again would look at himself and say, what was I doing? Because generally when you go back after a break, you literally, a lot of times batters start afresh. Even if they're batting on 100, 120, they want to go take those 2-3 balls. It's just for the body to get back in rhythm. Once you feel at home, then you just continue with what you've been doing before that in the previous session. Here, Shakib has played cleverly up to lunch, has actually given an opportunity to India. Ashwin has beaten him neck and crop, but luckily, it just kisses his pad, gets a deflection, missed by punt. And he comes back after lunch and gives them the softest of dismissals, probably chip to mid-off. I think that is not acceptable. I mean, coming from somebody who has so much experience, he'd be very disappointed in himself. And these are 2 key wickets. You can understand a Nurul Hasan, he got a good ball. You can understand that. But I just thought that the fight in them was missing. So teams wanting to score 400 and 420 won't be making these kind of, mistakes, silly mistakes, if I might call them.
Good day for Captain KL Rahul as well. The way he changed his bowlers, there was a fair bit of variety on offer from the Indians for the Bangladesh. It just goes to show that KL Rahul, when his bowlers are doing well, he can afford to mix things up. And the Bangladeshis couldn't really settle with the way KL Rahul used his resources.
Yes, I think, you're absolutely right. I think KL had a good day. The good thing about KL is when wickets are not falling, he is still able to keep them under control, under check with the run rate. And he is not thinking twice to keep bringing the medium pacers and rotating them. Generally, in subcontinent conditions, you try and keep, sometimes just bowl two spinners for the heck of it for a bit. But in his case, he didn't. I think he was constantly bringing back, and they gave him the results that he wanted. Every time Jaydev came back, if there's a partnership, he broke that partnership. And the same is with Umesh. Interestingly, all the big partnerships, the 40-run plus partnerships, were broken by fast bowlers today. So that is a good sign. In Asian conditions, if the fast bowler can keep giving you breakthroughs, then that's a good sign. That also shows the trust he has in the fast bowler. So that was good to see.
Now, they say in cricket, in the movies, in life, public memory is very short. People forget very quickly. But what happened today is something that will puzzle a lot of Indian cricket fans for a long time to come. That question is coming up for DK in the hotspot. What's the best way to get dropped from a Test 11? Take 8 wickets. Kuldeep Yadav, not a part of this 11. Please explain why, what, why. I don't know what to make of it. Why would he get dropped after picking 8 wickets?
I think we need to look at the situation holistically. We have to understand and accept that Ashwin is our number one spinner. Number 2 is definitely Akshar as of today because of the performances he's given, with Jadeja not being around. So that leaves Kuldeep with being number 3. Just one test match won't get a Kuldeep ahead of an Akshar. Akshar has been doing well for some time now. He has actually in many ways been the leader of the spin bowling attack. When Ashwin has had a tough day, Akshar has come back and backed him. Well, I mean, it obviously changes if Jadeja is there. I think he obviously slots in at number 2. But for the moment, it is Akshar Patel at number 2. And if they have decided, looking at the wicket, saying, you know what, there's going to be a little bit of help for the medium pacers, so let's go in with 3 medium pacers. And if the axe had to fall on the spinner, then they went for Kuldeep Yadav, which is understandable. I think for 2 reasons. A, the fact that Akshar has obviously been their premier spinner along with Ashwin as a spin bowler. B, he can give something with the bat. I know a lot of y'all will get angry for saying this because he got 40 in the match, Kuldeep, a vital 40 at that. So it's understandable. But I think Kuldeep will know that his time will come. And I am somebody who genuinely believes in him, and he has big things in store with the way he has been bowling. In a sport like cricket, which is a team-based sport, there are some decisions that are going to be hard. In fact, at times I feel they can take harder decisions. I think these are the kind of decisions that will happen when a team does well. Generally, there will be 1 or 2 who probably definitely needed to make the cut, but hasn't made it. But that's always the case. I feel, this decision was a fair one considering how Akshar has been bowling over a period of time. I think if that is something that we need to understand. We cannot quickly look at what Kuldeep has done and forget what an Akshar has done. But in the time that is going to come from here on, this will make Kuldeep hungrier, and I'm sure he'll do well in the Australian series. But for the moment, I think if they're going to go in with 3 medium pacers, it is understandable that they had to let go of Kuldeep.
This is the second time in his life that he's taken a 5-wicket haul and has been dropped in the next Test match. So I suppose Kuldeep Yadav's life story has a few more challenges than a few other people in life, I suppose. But taking tough decisions is part of professional sport, as you said, DK. But breaking the news to a young bowler who's done well is a much tougher job. On broadcast, they showed a few glimpses of Rahul Dravid talking to Kuldeep Yadav. And all that Kuldeep Yadav did was he had his arms folded and he was just politely nodding. Maybe we tend to dramatize things from the outside a little bit more. But as a captain, how would you break the news to someone like a Kuldeep Yadav? What would you tell him?
In this current setup, I think Rahul Dravid takes the onus to go and talk to the players and explain to them what was the reasoning behind it. The player has to, in many ways, accept what is coming his way. I mean, you can question and ask for communication, and it will be offered to you, and it will be given by Rahul Dravid, the maximum amount of clarity that he can give. But there is no easy way to say such things. You will understand this when you become a leader of any place, in any situation someday. There will be hard conversations to have. And as a leader, you cannot shy away from it. You need to go have that conversation with that person. And more often than not, for that moment when you're talking to them, it will never go down okay with them. They will obviously sulk. They might be upset. They might moan at times. But in time, you just hope that they look at the bigger picture and they turn around and say, fair enough. But for that moment, it is a hard decision. But as a coach or a captain, you have to go and have that conversation and give them your thought process behind it, and hope that they understand that it was coming from a place of what they thought was good for the team and they had nothing against the player personally. That is the best way you can move forward with those things.
Yes, it's a tricky one for Rahul Dravid as well. But Kuldeep Yadav has got to move on, and so shall we with fast forward. Now, DK, Bangladesh, while they managed only 227, they scored at a fair rate as well, despite losing wickets. And when India came out to bat, Shubman Gill, KL Rahul, Shakib Al Hasan did get a bit of help. There were a few oohs and ahs. Given how the conditions are, the bounce is pretty good as well. What's your advice to the Indian batters for day 2?
I think when the ball is hard and new, there will be some turn and bounce on offer, like you saw for Shakib Al Hasan. So that is something that we need to watch out for. Play more for the straight one. If the ball turns, just allow it to go through. It will look obviously like you've got beaten, but that's better than getting out. Number one. Number two, it's important once as the ball gets softer that we start using our feet and we hit a lot more boundaries along the ground, because I have a feeling a lot of the times they'll allow you to give you that one boundary, but then immediately put the fielder at the back, and then you'll get a lot of singles. But find ways to hit those boundaries. It will be great for India if they can bat around the early fours, like basically 4.1 or 4.2 and over, get about 360 380 runs, which can be hard if the field is spread, but if you have a good intent and an attacking mindset, it is possible. I think India is a team that has the possibility to bat at that kind of strike rate because we have the skill sets. It will be good. I can understand 360 might be hard. At least I would say 330, 300 to 330 would be a good day for India in terms of the number of runs that they could get tomorrow.
Yes, a lot of people are hoping for a Kohli 100 to end the year 2022. He's come back to run scoring form. But for the Indian batters tomorrow, who's a bigger threat? Taskin Ahmed, who's coming back? Or is it the duo of Taijul Islam and Shakib Al Hasan?
I do think Taijul Islam and Shakib Al Hasan will be a handful tomorrow to deal with, especially with the new ball that is for the next 20 overs. They are going to create a few opportunities. That will be a hard place. I think when it comes to Virat Kohli, irrespective of the month and time of the year, 100 is always expected from all of India whenever he bats. That is the kind of burden and he shoulders over a period of time. And we all hope that he can get 100 tomorrow. And, whenever he's on song, he's an absolute treat to watch.
Yes, and what else is a treat for Cricbuzz followers? It's Cricbuzz Plus. That's where you need to go and sign up for this premium service. It's called Cricbuzz Plus. And you can get lots of exclusive content ad-free on Cricbuzz Plus. Not just India, Bangladesh, but there's going to be IPL auction as well with our favorite trio of Joy Bhattacharya, Harsha Bhogle and Gaurav Kapoor. Well, there is no better trio in cricket broadcast than these three. It's going to be great fun. Do tune in to Cricbuzz to watch all the chatter around IPL 2023 auction special. Dinesh Karthik and I, Manish Batavia, will be back to talk to you on Cricbuzz Chatter at the end of day 2 of the second test match between India and Bangladesh. Do come back to us tomorrow.